How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting, and welcome back to Muv-Luv Monday, where we're here with the Imperial capital burns. And I think the burning's kind of already started, but I think the real burning's about to start, because we're in a massive pickle. We've lost 2 of our squad, probably more in the general vicinity. So Shimako and Aki both fell to various beta attacks, and it was really sad, but also like it's nice because it wasn't like like the deaths and the sequencing and the way it happened, it made a lot of sense. It felt right for the type of scenario we're in, because sometimes I feel like you can watch a show where they take a character's death and they make it either super dramatic and really unrealistic, or they make it so sudden and abrupt that it feels cheap. But that's not what we got with either Shimako or Aki. I feel like, if anything, it highlights again and it reinforces this idea that, like, just because we see them easily destroying grapplers from range, or we see them like trying so hard to avoid laser fire, it's just a stark reminder of just how dangerous all these beta forms are. Just, you can't take any of them. You can't underestimate any of them. Yeah, we always think of like the laser, heavy laser, and fortress class being the really, really scary ones, but you gotta remember all of them are terrifying. All of them are capable of doing a lot of damage. So, after that, they kind of heightened their trance state and just kind of had them going through the motions of their training. And we've been on the battlefield now for, I guess, hours, just trying to hold them off. And then the commander kind of got a bit of intel, and it turns out that the whole line's crumbling, and like they're talking nuclear options, and we just gotta hold out because essentially we've been told to post up to death, hold the line until the end. But now we have to do something. We have to change things up, because I'm guessing the biggest reason we're having an issue is that we're running out of gear. But before this, she kind of snapped us out of our deep hypnosis, where we actually got to see the emotions that were kind of on their faces were kind of mild, and now they've gone more severe. So, like, they're probably aware they've been fighting for a while, but it probably kind of went by in a blur. Like, if they're called in the future, I imagine it'd be like, ever driven to a location and you're like lost in thought. You're driving, you clearly drove safely and get there safely, but you, like, upon reflection, you're like, you don't remember the whole journey. You don't remember anything that happened because it just kind of just happened. I think that's how they're going to see this combat. So, now we're going to have to be on the move. But if we're moving and the front line is crumbling here, like, it's going to be really hard to extract, and we're not going to have any support. So lasers are going to be a real, real problem. Anyway. I don't know if I don't need to say any of this. We know what we know. We're going to see how this plays out. I have no idea how long this episode will be. Sometimes I can't stop, and I feel like we're hitting some pretty insane climax points, so we'll have to see how it goes. But thank you so much for being here. Let's get started. Effective immediately, we're abandoning the forward battle zone. We'll head toward our Arashiyama base to provide direct support.
アタゴ陣地は散発進行を受けている。我が隊はアタゴカラスカ岳間の稜線に防衛ラインを構築。斜面を生かした陣地防御および高地砲撃による亀岡戦域適正力の前減と同時に小型種の排除を行う。
So we're going to try and use a valley's natural shape to try and choke point, but that's going to mean the numbers are going to be insane, and it's going to be difficult for us to get breaks, I'm guessing.
経路は見ての通りだ。レーザー属種のリスクを考慮し、高地を縦に裏から這い登る。従って移動はサーフェシングが基本だ。
Okay.
デストロイヤー級の進行が絶え、支援砲撃によるレーザー属種の照射誘引が機能している今、この吐きだめに止まる理由はない。我々の移動後は基地からの不切断で地雷がばらまかれるので注意しろ。
Interesting. So she's talking about unactivated ordnance, which is like, shells that fire that just don't quite detonate for whatever reason. And then mines. Because beta, I'm guessing beta don't really like scan for mines. They probably just run straight through them. Does that mean that mines are just laid up on the surface? Because that actually sounds very appealing. While maybe they'd be easy to miss, it's a lot better than the buried mines, which are literally practically invisible. But because you don't really have to worry about that with beta, It could mean that a minefield is just laid on the surface invisible, which would make it so that it's actually navigable and noticeable.
第一小隊が先行する続け了解
Roger that. There we go. God, look at us. God, look at that slide.
何をやっているのファングイレブン泉
She's just going crazy.
交代よファングイレブンそいつは放っておいても死ぬから
Crap. I imagine that. So she already came into this with the bloodlust, trying to get revenge on her boyfriend. But the hypnosis. Remember they talked about how like climbing in and out of the hypnotic states can have what they call it like a they didn't call it a bad trip. They called it like a bad something. You have a poor reaction where your emotions can kind of overperform. So.
泉そいつはもう死んでいや逃げるなんてできない敵をここで敵を撃つんだノート少尉うるさい邪魔するな何も知らないお姫様のくせにただ道は私の全てだったんだただ道と結婚することが鏡家との縁組が
You think he'd want this?
私がノト家の役に立てるノト家に必要とされるたった一つのことだったんだ
I don't know. I feel like this is the point where you scream at her like, you think he'd want this? You think your family would want this? Serve them now by not dying here.
あんたにはわからない世間と縁の縁組で救われた家に生まれ何不自由なく生きてきたあんたには絶対に
Well, it's funny because, like, of all of them, I didn't think Izumi was going to be the one to just be like this. Like, oh, it kind of painted the picture that Aki was going to be the one that was calling it all the bull crap. Izumi, though, it hurts a little harder coming from her. No, you're wrong. My life has been far from easy. Say something.
だからあんな青臭いことばかり言えるのよ何が同じ訓練生よ何がみんなで頑張ろうだよ
How cruel, Izumi. Is that how you've seen me all this time?
価格外があって石鹸につながるあんたはさ上に行けるって知ってるのかもしれないけどね私たちは何をやろうが一生とざまなんだよ
Why are you blaming me for this? No matter what I do, I don't have a choice but to live within the system.
上に行けないって分かってるのになんであんたと同じ頑張り方しなきゃいけないの私たちはねそういうあんたから見たら哀れな範囲で幸せを満喫できるように生きるしかないんだよ
Yeah, this pseudo-royal system is pretty broken if you think about it, like, especially like that. Like, she's got a real good point in that regard. You have to aim high if you want to achieve results, Izumi. The effort you exert in your daily life is a reflection of your commitment to achieving your goals. This is true regardless of the lifestyle you choose. Like, it's interesting because is that, like, it's so convenient that people who have money, power, authority, family connections will often look down and say, like, hey, it's all about the effort you put in. Is it, though? I'm pretty sure that the hardest working people who deserved the most success were people who were janitors until they retired. People who are teachers, who don't get paid, who have to take second jobs in order to make the ends meet, even though they're doing some of the most important work in the community. Yeah, real easy to say that when you actually have had a silver spoon in your mouth the whole time. Not saying that Yui's bad. She's a fantastic person, and she doesn't judge people based on where they come from. She expects them to just do their best and to be the best they can be, including herself. But it is a convenient way to say this. Like, it's all about the work you put into it. It's not. It's very clearly not. Your effort can do amazing things, but it doesn't just make the disadvantages that you are born into vanish. Like, Izumi's pointing out, like, look, our family is, like, dancing on the edge of the bottom rung. And despite all our efforts, we'll never be able to be better than this. So they have all the expectations of the pseudo-royalty that is the Royal Guard families, but they also have to just make it through without any of the prestige and resources that's attributed to almost every other member of the Royal Guard that isn't in their clan level. So essentially, they're kind of trapped. They're not poor enough to be able to have the freedom to just make the choices they make and hope for the best. But they're also not, like, powerful enough to actually be able to dictate their own fates in any meaningful way. They're essentially super pawns. And that's the thing, is, like, even she has a very, like, silver spoon-like style lifestyle compared to average citizens. And so average citizens would hear her saying this and be like, you're crazy, what are you talking about? We're starving to death. You've got plenty to eat and had all the education you could possibly want. But then it just trickles upward from there, right? It's just injustice and jealousy all the way up. It sucks. The whole system sucks. How am I supposed to take responsibility for your shortcomings? Oh, again, Yui, you're missing the point. While you can't choose where you're born, you can choose to work to improve your lot in life or to remain stagnant. Izumi, you decided on the latter. The consequences of that decision rest squarely on your shoulders.
わかりませんわね。まったく。
Oh. Dang. Thank you. I'm glad somebody's stepping in.
言い名付けを持たない私に、それを失った悲しみなど、わかりようもありませんわ。だったら、出しゃばらないで。それでも、戦友を失った悲しみはわかりますわ。あなたはいかがかしら、能登少尉。そんなの、当たり前じゃない。そうでしたら、あなたの戦友が、
Exactly. Thank you, Yamashiro. Thank you. Oh, gosh. Why is she just the person? She's just the goat. Why? Like, she's like the person. Why is she the only person with a brain? I mean, I know they're going through a lot. I can't be that judgmental of it, but good grief.
では、あなたがここで言い名付けの弔いをする分、まだ生きている戦友を死に近づけていることは。ご存知？山城さん、もう十分よ。
No, it's not. Tell her. Come on, keep speaking, Queen. Thank freaking goodness. Yeah. Same gaze as back then. She's right, though. She's right. Bad trip. Yes, it has to be. Her words are uncharacteristically harsh. But that's the other thing, too. Okay, so I think a bad trip, I think I talked about this before, but it reminds me a lot of alcoholism. Now, I'm not an expert, considering I've chosen not to drink alcohol, just ever. I've never found it appealing. I hate the idea of losing some inhibitions. But that's the thing, is it's not like it just makes you a mad person. When you get drunk, it doesn't just make you into a new person or some kind of idiot or whatever. Like, you'll make idiotic decisions, but that's the key, that alcohol will not transform you into some different person. It just takes away your inhibitions. You stop thinking about consequences, you stop thinking about future, you stop thinking about like injury, or insult, or the feelings of others. It just takes away the limiters that we have in our mind that caution us and warn us when we might be overstepping our bounds. It takes away social decorum, it takes away even self-preservation at times. which is why it's so scary that people can just jump behind the wheel of their car, and if people around them aren't paying attention, they can end up taking the lives of other people inadvertently because they don't feel drunk, because they no longer have the ability to understand that they might not actually be aware of how dangerous their situation is because of the inhibition brought upon by the very chemical that's making it difficult for them to recognize the danger. It's a loop. Anyway, regardless of that, if you somehow try and justify actions you take because you are drunk, that's not an excuse. That's you. You're being your true self, just without, considering of consequences. So if you do something drunk that you wouldn't do like when you're not drunk, the only difference is that you're no longer restraining yourself. So in a way, it's almost a litmus test of like what kind of a person they actually are underneath. Granted, doesn't mean you have to allow alcoholism to dictate who you are. You can dictate, you can change, and you can also step away from the alcohol if it's causing problems. But the idea is, I think the bad trip, I guess, what's she called again? It is a bad trip. So they call it a bad trip. So a bad trip, it's not like they just become a mad person completely different. Izumi, should she survive, probably would feel regret for what she said. But it's not like she hasn't, it's not that it wasn't, she's actually thinking that. That's what I'm trying to say. Good grief. Can't think of my words today. She's actually feeling those feelings. Those thoughts have crossed her mind. Those thoughts are in her head. Now, usually she probably tries to sequester them, to deflect them, or she explains herself out of that thought pattern because it's clearly not very rational. But it doesn't mean that it's not true how she feels. So, and the problem, Yui, is like, you had said nothing. You didn't try and stop her, didn't contradict her. You don't even have to try and contradict her. Yui should have at least stopped the train of thought, like Yamashiro did, and said, hey, do you really think that this is what your boyfriend would want, your squad mates would want, the people who have died already would want? Like, Yui needs to stop freezing up. That's Yui's problem. She thinks thoughts, and then she doesn't do anything with them. What a mess. But it shows how much growth they have to do.
あれはもう使い物にならんかもしれんな。いや、連星半ばの学徒英士がここまで持ちこたえたことを喜ぶべきか。それを可能にした戦術薬剤、恐るべき効果だ。テスト導入はおおむね成功だろう。だが効果と弊害のばらつきがひどすぎる。正常に適合したのがほんの数名ではな。
Right. So she's saying like things are shaky as best, as it is, but what else are you gonna do?
状態安定、薬理適合トリプル A、心技体、総合能力すべてに U、山城和沙。順当に経験を重ねれば、必ずや後世に名を残すこの英英士となろう。
It's sad that she's already decided that they're all gonna die. I mean, I can see why the situation's that dire, but like, she's at the point of talking about everyone in the past tense.
生きて帝都出られる者などおるまい。京都外郭の砲台陣地軍が落ちるのも時間の問題。それも山あいにばらまかれた対タンク級地雷と警備部隊の弾薬がいつまで持つかだな。場合によっては嵐山は見切り、釈迦岳砲撃陣地の直縁を優先すべきか。国土防衛整備計画以前の旧式トンネルか。戦術機での通過は無理だな。
Interesting. Oh, that's interesting because aren't those tunnels the exact ones that they used to smuggle Yui out in an alternative?
ファングワンより中隊各機、追いの坂トンネル区間の歩幅機構による両線フライパスを強化する。高度制限25以下。82式は木にぶつかった程度じゃ壊れない。数秒の我慢だ。支援砲撃によるレーザー照射誘引は十分機能している。だがビビって高度上げると黒焦げにされるぞ。分かったか。了解。第二小隊は未だに後方2200か。第一小隊続け。了解。ファングナイン、死にたいのかバカ者。制限コードはつま先合わせじゃない、頭だ。了解。来たぞ。ロケットモーター点火。
Oh boy. That was a laser shot.
ファンクナイン くそファンク4
損害警備塗膜剥離のみです。
よしファンク2貴様らはギリギリまで行動
Oh, that was a grappler. Oh no, not a grappler. The red ones.
痛い何が
Ironically, we had the same picture before, but not with the wound.
なんだとレーザー照射は受けてな
やだ地面が
It's the red ones. Oh gosh. Oh, that sounded awful.
バカなやつだビビって行動を上げたのかせんなきことだ期待ごと奴らに食い殺される恐ろしさは通学でたっぷりすり込まれたはずだからな
Possible to escape.
身体極まったか
Escape system's out of order.
ならばせめて部下どもの梅雨払いをさせてもらう
Oh
ま
my
で
gosh. Are you serious? Oh no. Did they not install one inside her TSF? Oh my gosh, wait a minute. Cuz they're supposed to be like small nuclear yield devices, right? But they're near the capital. So what if they just never installed them because they didn't want pilots in their final moments blowing up nukes in Japanese territory? Could they have really gone that far? Oh my gosh.
そうかあいつこれから起こることを思っててええか征夷大将軍殿下任を果たせぬまま果てる不忠をお許しください
Dang. She doesn't want to die to being eaten.
山城高村能登あとは頼む
Are you gonna? Can you communicate with them though? Like, if they don't know that you're down, like, what are they gonna do? At the same time, like Biwa. Second Fleet flagship Owari.
向こうさんもよく動いてくれている。だが、やらせるわけにはいかんのだ。全艦主砲発射準備。
司令、何とぞ。何とぞ今一度。矢雲長官に確認を。
もう一度言う。主砲発射準備。
Is this like, well, what? Like, gonna just start fire? Like, why? I guess I'm just confused. Why would they be not wanting to fire?
司令、
聞こえなかったのかね、安倍参謀。主砲発射準備だ。
秘匿回線開け。全艦に通達。全訪問発射準備。
秘匿回線開け。全艦に通達。全訪問発射準備。
秘匿回線開きます。全艦に通達。全訪問発射準備。全訪問発射準備。
安倍参謀。第七艦隊司令。久世提督に警告したまえ。
内容はいかがしますか。
我、砲撃の準備あり。至急。機関艦載機を起動させられたし。
Okay.
さもなくば。
So so the American TSFs, were they going to go to deploy a nuclear option, and they're trying to stop them by like firing artillery? not being very clear. Several minutes later.
ファングワン応答願います。ファング2よりファングワン。
状況から言って、如月注意の第一小隊は前期撃墜されたと見るべきですわね。
そんな。じゃあ私たちだけで戦えって
Oh
いう
wait,
の？
are the three of us literally all that's left of Fang too? Holy crap.
少なくともしばらくは嵐山基地に戻るまではそうなると思う。
しっかりなさい、元さん。この戦域の近衛軍はもう私たちだけですのよ。基地に戻ったとしても警備部隊は帝国軍。都合よく指揮下に編入してもらえるなどと考えないことですわ。そんなの分かってる。高村さん、引き続きあなたが指揮を。価格序列から言っても妥当ですわ。
Fetch me, Yui. Come on. Yamashiro-san.
虫図が走りますわね。あなた方の関係。散々ぶら下がって甘やかし放題。見るに耐えませんわ。
Yamashiro-san's been aware of how lacking in leadership I am, yet here she is, bending the knee solely on the basis of tradition.
わかった。
Just as customary with the Royal Guard's demand, Yamashiro-san obeys and I command. I cannot abdicate my feudai duties. I cannot stain the name of House Takamura.
とにかく如月注意の命令を実行しよう。嵐山の死守は任務の原点だから。
わかりましたわ。そうなると問題はあの峠ですわね。
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is like the biggest issue I see here is like they're fleeing from oncoming beta. So where did the red grabber betas come from? Like they're already here. That implies that the beta have circled around, which means that our even like the glimpse of information that the commander got directly from the source is probably well out of date by now, and the beta have essentially we're essentially surrounded, probably caught between like the trailing end of one beta swarm that was coming from like a flanking direction, and then an oncoming beta like horde that we were fighting off or initially that's following behind us. So we've like already been cut off. We're in enemy red zone territory, which means lasers could be anywhere. It's very dicey.
あの高度で照射されたとなると支援砲撃が減ってるってこと？もしかしてタンク級が砲撃陣地を次々と。
Yeah, I think they've gone and past. I think we're well past the point of expecting artillery.
今はそれを考えても仕方ないよ。とにかく如月注意がやったように低く飛んでロケットモーターで突っ切るしかない。
Yeah, but that didn't end very well for them.
そうですわね。では早く。亀岡戦役生誕に旅団機のベータ軍。
Yep.
デストロイヤー級
Yep, there they are.
1800兆グラップラー級2300兆レーザー級を含む小型種は計測限界。
この熱量、レーザー読手がこんなに。
急いで峠を抜けましょう。じゃないと。
ちょっと待って。
Oh. Oh my gosh, look at them! Oh, they're so creepy!
タンク級。あれが全てタンク級ですって。
Okay, so the red ones are called tank class? Okay. I keep mixing them up. So the tank grapplers are the big ones with the big chompy bits. Destroyers are the big armored ones, because I always thought of them as tank class. But the red ones are tank class, and they must be the destroyers. Gosh darn it. You'd think I'd know by this point, but we've also had very indirect beta battles in most of the stories we've had for the last months and months.
天然の要害である山岳地帯が逆にタンク級の浸透を助けてしまったとでも。
高村さん、ご覧になって。何よ。完全に囲まれてるじゃない。私たち食べられちゃうのかな。
If they can, so we better make sure they can't.
あいつらに機体ごと食べられて死ぬのかな。
The Zukaku is father's masterpiece and the pride of the House Takamura. I won't allow it to be eaten by the beta. Committing such an atrocious act would be the same as trampling over my family's work. The sheer audacity. As the next head of House Takamura, I must prevent this crime at all costs. Yui, priorities, you shouldn't be eaten. I think your dad would much rather the TSF be eaten than you. Now that I've made my decision to prove my worth with my actions, I won't suffer to see father's Zuikaku desecrated by those animals. I absolutely won't allow it. There must be something I can do to prevail against this madness.
諦めるものか。
その通りですわ。何か、まだ何か手はあるはず。
Yamashiro-san's right, there has to be. There's the face. Look at that. She's not gonna go down without a fight. What's that? Oh my gosh. Okay, we gotta go. Yeah, okay, so they're going scorched earth. At the same time, like Biwa, she got prefecture. Run!
京都市街域に重金属群発生。重レーザー減衰濃度。第3戦隊ス11号砲弾装填完了。
Oh man, though, this might give us a window. The window between the heavy metal clouds being dispersed and the actual artillery barrage. If we can somehow fly out of there between those two.
目標佐賀の上桂および向こうに展開中の師団規模ベータ軍停！
Oh, I see. They were hesitant because they're literally shelling the cities. Yeah, that's got to be rough because it's probably like your home, or at least you've probably been there.
この手でテータを撃つことになろうとは無念です。
テータ砲撃。その一切の責は私にある。諸君はただ命令に従ったに過ぎない。
I mean, it's necessary.
知れ、安倍君。よく見ておきたまえ。そして、この屈辱を決して忘れてはならん。このようなシーンがいかにして導かれたのか。
He's right. Letting it just be taken would be worse, but it's still not good. At the same time, I actually have a base vanguard. Yeah, but like, I think that's why, keep in mind, the red ones, they're the size of like normal tanks. They're big. Get out of there.
140秒でレーザー級の撃ち回しが増大しますわ。そうなれば、機載レーダーの着弾予測はもう。
We're in serious trouble. What do we do? Increasing our altitude would leave us open to laser class. Staying low and flying NOE would expose us to hordes of tank class. And remaining here will guarantee our deaths under the relentless onslaught of artillery barrages.
このままじゃ敵が撃てなくなっちゃう。どうするのユイ。レーザー照射にタイミングを合わせて稜線を越えるしかない。ユイ、早く。
Wait, what about the tunnel? We should be safe from the beta and the artillery fire there.
ダメだ。どうしたのユイ。なんで黙って。ノトさん、あなたはレーザー照射間隔の中央演算地よ。 敵を撃ちたいなら急ぎなさい。わかったわよ。
The Zukaku's operational height is about 19.5 meters. The machine needs a clearance height of about 25 meters when advancing on foot, the 17 meters when surfacing. Even if we had self-propelled maintenance trailers, we would still require a width of at least 14 meters to accommodate the machines. Now I understand why the lieutenant attempted to cross over the mountain pass by flying NOA. Now I have to think. There must be something I'm overlooking. There's a wide tunnel. There is a wider tunnel around here. If we use it to make our way across, we won't need to fly over the ridge. Oh, it's just barely big enough.
国土防衛整備計画により全国の高速自動車道山間部のトンネルは戦略的重要拠点と位置づけられ、大規模な改修が
Okay, so it's very similar to the doctrine that led to the development of the United States interstate highway systems. The interstate highway system is mainly a convenient way to travel across the country, but it was designed with specifications in mind to be able to foster. They had specifications that had to do, like the compacting of materials had to be able to withstand traversal of large heavy equipment such as tanks, and they had to have allocated stretches of roads that were like straight and level over certain periods of time across certain distances to make it so that you could have essentially a network of potential emergency airport landing strips and takeoff strips across the country. It's a really interesting system that was devised with the idea that if we were ever invaded, we would literally be able to have resupply across the entire country without having to do any major changes to our infrastructure.
その統一最大直径は大型種の通過を阻む14メートル。これは平坦ルートの確保と両立を図って、その根拠は自走整備単価、戦術機積載時の最大全幅と全高である。
That won't work. It's still too narrow. What I wouldn't give for some self-propelled maintenance trailers. Wait, the enemy still hasn't invaded the new Onisaka tunnel. We could abandon TSS and escape on our feedback protector exoskeletons.
次の照射周期で行きますわよ。ジャンプのタイミングと座標はデータリンクを。
Time to make a choice. What's our best option? Oh my gosh, I have a choice here? What? Does it feel like it's a real choice? Okay, well, I'm going to do a safety save. Because maybe I don't... Okay, because here's the thing. Staying here obviously doesn't work. Follow Yamashiro's lead and try and fly over the ridge has decent potential, but we saw how that played out. Escape through the tunnel using exoskeletons. Like, this place is about to be bombarded, and it's crawling with beta. That seems like a really poor idea, but it's pretty clear that it is an option. I think it's got to be going through the tunnel. I think all three are bad. I think this might be the least bad. But we've seen what happens when we try to fly over the ridge, so I think it's going to be one. No. Preserving our mobility and defense is crucial. Should we wish to survive, throwing away our TSS when we're facing swarms of beta would be suicidal. Well, if our TSS came equipped with heavily armored mechanized infantry spec exoskeletons outfitted with jump units, maybe we could manage. However, our machines are only furnished with the lightweight version focused on mobility, so we'd be as good as dead the moment we stepped outside. And this is assuming the small strains haven't already entered the tunnel.
その根拠は自走整備単価、戦術機積載時の最大全幅と全高であ
So
る。
the game is gently telling me I'm an idiot. No.
14メートルという数値はその通過時の十分な余剰を。
No. Neither option would work.
何してるの高村さん。お願い諦めないで。最後まであがくのよ。
That's right. Surrender's not an option. Yamashiro-san's exactly right.
イエイ。一か八か峠をジャンプで。
新大井の坂トンネルの入り口に向かうわ。どういうことですの？移動しながら説明する。ついてきて。一体何考えて。
Okay, so I did pick the right one?
私は指揮官を高村さんを信じますわ。
Thank you, Yamashiro-san. In honor of House Takamura hangs in the balance, but the responsibility of their lives lays with me as well, and I will stop at nothing to protect them. Oh gosh.
人とも準備はいい？はい、やってやるんだから。突入したら速度を上げて一気に抜けないと失速するからね。
Oh, they're meant to be able to transport TSFs that are standing, but if you're flying, you're leaning forward. This really risky, but technically your profile is low enough. The majority of your height is then transferred into like a length, and length is okay in a tunnel if you don't hit anything. If we don't hit anything and we maintain our speed and course, we should be fine. Oh, that's scary though.
分かってますわ。見て、入り口どっちも爆破封鎖されてない。山城さんは下り、私と泉は上り。間隔は100。突入まで40秒。
Oh, there's the shells. It's funny, we might die any minute, but I'm feeling strangely calm. I wonder if I would be holding up just as well without the pre-battle treatment.
突入まで30秒。前期並走排除。
That's gonna suck, but it makes sense.
フォーメーションハンマー5前期。
Did I kill us with a choice? Like, we might not be able to fight, but we can travel, and we can maybe get back to reinforce. Get back to gear. Oh my gosh! Oh, look at that! Oh, that's so scary. Several minutes later, Nishikyo Ward. Holy fetch.
テートが千年の都が燃え。
まさに間一髪、見事な状況判断でしたわ。
それにしても陸走モードなんてよくもとっさに思いついたものですわね。恐れ入り。
私はただ必死だっただけだよ。
Oh, yes, remember the lectures.
国土防衛整備計画の一環により、全国の高速自動車道路は最大規模想定のベータ本土進行を想定した軍事運用に耐えるべく強化改修された。
Yeah, exactly. Again, it's all forethought. It's all this idea of like when you're thinking of potential war, you use the mind of trying to build infrastructure. Infrastructure is critical. Infrastructure is important. Being able to travel, traverse safely, get materials where you need them to be. They always talked about, like, there's the old saying that an army marches on its stomach, and it's absolutely true. The limiting factor in days gone past for militaries was never the amount of troops you could field. It was the resources and chains of logistics that you could establish. Because it doesn't matter if you had an army that was 10 times the size of your opponents. If you are starving to death, they're going to win. So it makes a lot of sense that, like, if you want to preserve your sovereignty, if you want to preserve your safety, if you want to preserve a nation, infrastructure is the key. It's so integral. It's probably one of the most important aspects of building up a defense, is making sure your infrastructure is solid and has redundancies.
特に山間部のトンネルは戦略的重要軍事施設と位置づけられ、大規模な整備増強が行われている。その理由は、国土の7割を占める山脈山岳部がベータの電撃的進行を阻む天然の要害だからだ。トンネルを要する主要山岳内部には、トンネル内の高速道路と市道で結ばれた広大な汎用地下空間が埋設されている。
So they made a lot of like ant-like network tunnels.
これは平時には物資備蓄施設として運用されているが、有事の際には整備補給基地などに転用され、前線の両線防衛拠点として機能する。したがって、トンネル及びトンネル内指導の最大直径は、大型種の侵入を阻む14メートルに統一されている。これはレーザー属種の前線進出を想定した平坦、戦力展開ルートの確保と通過阻止の両立を図って算出されたものだ。
So the idea being, like, in the ideal situation, you could transport TSFs through the tunnels, making it so you could have a strategic advantage being able to travel through the mountains. but not allowing the majority of beta to be able to do the same.
その主な考慮対象は、戦術機の運搬、前線整備を担う自走整備単価の機体積載時最大全幅と全高である。14メートルという数値は、機体積載状態にある自走整備単価のトンネル通過における安全かつ十分な余剰を担保しているのだ。小型種の侵入対策は、昇降式の多重隔壁が担っている。また、デフコン1の発令以降は、自律警戒システムが起動。相当数の個体侵入をもって自爆崩壊する。
Oh, interesting. That's kind of scary. We flew into that. It could have already been primed to self-detonate. That was a gamble. Self-detonation to try and prevent the smaller strains from breaking through.
この対象は主にタンク級であり、内部に誘引、滞留させた後に起爆することで前言を図るものだ。遠隔操作、あるいは現地制御室での手動解除がない限り実行される。
Okay, interesting.
教官たちのおかげだよ。
ええ。座学で学ぶことに無駄は一つもないということですよね。とは言っても、あのような報復飛行、二度とやりたくないですよね。
Oh yeah, no, that was horrifically scary. Because even with ideal conditions, that was rough.
これからどうするの？京都、あんなになっちゃってるし。
まずは兵装の入手を最優先しましょう。じゃないと生き延びた意味がない。
わかりましたわ。
In our haste to escape the impact zone, we left every single piece of equipment behind. We have no assault cannons, no melee blades, not even a single Type 65 knife between the three of us. A small pack of tank class would present a fatal threat to us, unarmed as we are. But you have your TSF, you have mobility. That's such an important thing. Like, if you can just retreat somewhere safe, like, you'll be golden.
センサー起動。音信索敵を開始する。ここから5キロ東に帝国軍の桂駐屯地がある。兵装を入手したらここを目指す。
We should check the nearby supply containers, even if there might not be any supplies left inside.
半径2キロ圏内に野戦コンテナ3つ。規模順で 1.5 キロ南の大原のインター横、約2キロ南東の高校、約 1.8 キロ東南の運動公園。
空振りのリスクが少ないのは残存物資が多いインター。でも山岳部近傍はタンク級との接敵リスクが高い。となれば駐屯地に近い運動公園一択ですわね。データリンクさえ回復してくれたらな。前より重金属運濃度が高くなっていますわ。障害の復旧など望むべくもないでしょうね。とにかく他の部隊を見つけて近接データリンクに接続するしかないですわね。この絵であれ帝国軍、いいえ国連軍でも構わない。
Yeah, I'd be happy with human. Human sounds great right now. Do or die. But now we should keep moving forward. Time to mourn will come as long as we survive.
ファング正体前進。
Here we go. Several minutes later, Nishikyo Ward, Kyoto. IJMDF.
こちら帝国軍嵐山基地所属近衛軍第332独立警護中隊。現在指揮官を失い3名で孤立しています。こちら帝国軍嵐山基地所属近衛軍第332独立警護中隊。コマンドポストヘッドクォーター近接部隊のいずれかは至急応答願います。
応答はないようですわね。こんなところベータに襲われたら終わりだよ。120ミリ砲弾だけあっても突撃砲がなきゃ。泣き言を言っても始まりませんわ。
I can sympathize with the Zumi's anxieties well enough. Isolated behind enemy lines with beta lurking around every corner, standard procedure dictates one machine should refuel at a time to reduce our exposure to enemy attacks. But, like, what's the point? Like, what are we gonna do if we see enemies? Punch them? However, we're refueling simultaneously since there's no point setting up a watch rotation. Not as long as we're unarmed, our top priority must be to minimize the time spent here.
しなこっていつもああだったよね。
Oh boy.
あの子いつもユイの背中カバーしちゃってさ。操船部の時も
模擬戦の時だって
You should stop this train of thought before she gets on a roll here. Azumi, what's this about? Why are you bringing up Shimako?
こちら帝国軍嵐山基地所属近衛軍第332独立警護中隊コマンドポストヘッドクォーター近接部隊のいずれかは至急応答願います。資格消すためにいつも勝手にポジションずらしてさ当のユイに何度注意されても
Oh,
あの子
interesting.
バカなふりして繰り返して
So Shimako's adoration for Yui was not her just kind of being like she was overtly protecting Yui, like in a way almost sabotaging the team cohesion by making sure Yui was protected. Ugh, that's not great. Shimako was just playing the fool. Surface pilots are oathbound to commemorate the lives of their fallen comrades. Is Azumi perhaps trying to honor her memory? A noble sentiment, but the time to reminisce is yet to come.
ほんとバカだよね。実戦でもその癖出ちゃって。
That's not... No, she lost her head pretty clearly. What?
サブアームに回路時かましてさ。結局、錯乱して死んじゃうんだから。
Oh wait, so she's saying that the position she was in, like where she was physically, was because she was trying to cover Yui's blind spot, and that was what led to the accident? Shimako was trying to protect me. If what Azumi's saying is true...
こちらファング5！ごめんなさい！回路時がサブアームに！私は足手まといなんかじゃない！私はお荷物なんかじゃないよね！ユイのお荷物なんかじゃないよね！
See, that, again, sounds like a bad trip. It sounds like she panicked. But she panicked not because she had made a mistake. She panicked because she was worried she was hurting Yui somehow. Shimako made a fatal mistake in an attempt to cover for me. All this time I've been looking down on her, completely oblivious to the sacrifices Shimako was making for me. What a fool I am. Still, I shouldn't take Azumi at her word, not when her mind's been so precariously in such a precarious condition even before we sortied. Maybe it's all in her head? But what if it's not?
バキだって。ほんとバカだよ。何にも言ってくれないで。そんなんじゃこっちだって。踏み込めないじゃないよ。こちら、帝国軍嵐山基地所属。
Yui, don't ignore her. Talk to her.
コマンドポスト、ヘッドクォーター、近接部隊のいずれかは、至急応答願います。隠すなら完璧にやってよ。私が見えるところに手紙なんて忘れないでよ。松代の恥とか、戸籍の書とか、重すぎるよ。
Interesting. She'd been stricken out of her family's registry? Why would they do that? And if they did, why was she still in Yamayuri? Aki's name was removed from House Iwami's registry. When did that happen? She never said anything.
そんなもの、私に置いていかないでよ。錯乱して味方に被害出そうが、5分で死のうが。弟は弟。あんたはあんたじゃない。
Oh, that story sounds really interesting. Why did he go insane? Because the thing is, going insane to attack your allies sounds like a convenient way to cover up something else, right? Because what if something was going down that he didn't approve of, and it got so bad, he felt like he had to try and intervene, and in intervening, he got, like, just taken out, and so they just claimed he attacked them. Sounds like it almost feels like a cover-up story. No, this isn't one of Azumi's delusions.
私はやったんだ。これでやっとあいつの
私はお荷物なんかじゃないよね。ユイのお荷物なんかじゃないよね。
It was the truth behind it was hidden from my eyes. The truth I was too blind to see. Oh, fetch me. Oh my gosh. Western of Kameko Battle Zone direction. Okay. I know it sucks to have the alarm blaring off, but we're going to be ending here. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that sound real quick. Because we're going to end here. Because it sounds like it's going to kick off right now. So let's go ahead and save that for next week. Well, my gosh. I think that's the thing is Izumi is... I think she's telling the truth. Aki clearly did have that. I wonder about the story about her brother. It sounds to me like it was kind of... It seems too convenient to be just, oh, he went insane. That just sounds silly. Shimako, I do think she probably was desperate to try and, like, put Yui on a pedestal. Now, I don't know if Izumi understood that that was not so much just her being like, oh, I'm devoted to the hierarchy, and more of a, like, I am personally devoted to Yui kind of attitude. But yeah, I don't see this going very well. So, hopefully they can detach and get away fairly quickly. But the problem is now, with the laser class being like that, they're gonna have to fly super low in a battlefield in a city. I don't like that. This is real risky. But we'll have to see. We'll figure it all out as we go, I suppose. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel, for being a part of the Muv-Luv day, as always. I feel like we are going to be done with this one fairly soon. It depends. Like, I was hoping it would go further, but I'm not convinced it will. But we'll have to see if we can make it through the day, I suppose, or if everyone can. We know Yui does. I hope the other two can. I'm not so confident, though. Because it's kind of amazing Yui makes it out of this somehow. I'm not even sure how she does, so we'll have to get to that when we get to it. But thank you for being here. Thank you to the patrons and members for your support. Hopefully you've enjoyed this episode as much as I've enjoyed making it. But until then, I'll have to see you later. So until the next video, watch me or see me in next. I'll see you there.